Hi and welcome back. If you didn't view part 1 of this video, make sure you go back and watch that. I'll put a link in the description below so you don't miss it. But yeah, without any hesitation, let's get on with the list. So my number 5 pick is The Avengers. And what can I say about this film that hasn't already been said? This film, in my opinion, is a comic book brought to screen. It has the heart of some of those early Stan Lee comics, and it's just when you're watching it. I know a few people who have said when they watch it, they forget they're watching a movie. They actually think they're reading a comic book, and this definitely stems from the director and writer Joss Whedon, who has written for comic books before. So he certainly knows he certainly knows and loves the genre, and it definitely shows here. I love Joss Whedon's direction in this. That's something I've always liked about Marvel. See, Joss Whedon wouldn't have been, back then when they were picking him, he wouldn't have been the obvious choice, because yeah, he had created a few cult things, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly Dollhouse, but he wasn't a proven director. He wasn't a proven film director. But Marvel took a risk and Marvel really did take a risk with him, because the only other feature film that he directed was Serenity, which was a Firefly spin-off. And so, but Marvel took the risk to hire Joss Whedon, and it paid off in a big way. I mean, it's the third highest grossing film of all time. And it just goes to show, if you take risks in this industry, then it will next to always pay off. The cast is fantastic. Like I mentioned earlier on this list, Robert Downey Jr. is just perfect as Tony Stark. But Marvel is very good at casting too. Like Chris Evans, in my opinion, is Captain America. Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Mark Ruffalo is the Hulk. Like, it's almost like they're not playing characters. It's almost like those people are born to play those roles. I really like Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. She's really, her character has really improved since Iron Man 2, where I really think she was really just eye candy in that movie. But here she's a proper character. She gets things to do. In her first scene, when when she's doing the interrogation thing, I think that really shows how good she is at her job. And yeah, I think she's really good in this film. The only character I do complain about, dislike how he's used, is Hawkeye, and I don't think Jeremy Renner gets a bad performance as Hawkeye. I just think he's underused. Like, really, I mean, as soon as he gets mind controlled, he's basically, that's not Hawkeye for 2/3 of the movie. And he's cool in the final fight scene at the end, but that's all he really is, cool. And I hope in Avengers 2, whilst he's not the first character I want to see, get the spotlight in the film, I do hope he gets more development. Speaking of the final fight scene, that is Lord of the Rings style epic. It's just fantastic. It's well shot. It's fast paced. The special effects are beautiful. It all comes to a T, and the film is very well built up until that point. Yeah, and that's just fantastic. The Hulk steals the show. You can see why a lot of people want there to be another solo Hulk film, and I think they got the Hulk right in this film in a way that they didn't really get in the 2 previous films. I thought they got a lot closer in the Incredible Hulk, which is a Marvel Studios film, but this is where they finally got the Hulk. Tom Hiddleston, I think, is a great villain. I've always liked Tom Hiddleston, even before it was cool to like Tom Hiddleston. I liked him in Thor, but here he plays. Even though he's still playing the same character, it's clear that Loki is developed. He's no longer just the bastard child of Odin. Now he's like this more. He's really come into his own. He's this like lethal, feral, like really quite scary villain. And I really like Loki. Samuel Jackson. What can you say about Samuel Jackson? He's just Samuel Jackson. You know, the ultimate version of Nick Fury, which is like an Ultimate Universe thing, which the movie Nick Fury is based off, was based off Samuel Jackson. So Samuel Jackson is playing a character that was based off himself. So you know, you can't really complain about that. Yeah, overall, there is a reason why so many people love this movie, and this movie made so much money. It's great fun. It's, you know, and it proved that, because before the Avengers came out, we are kind of getting into a phase where, you know, all superhero movies have to be dark, like all superheroes have to be tortured characters, and I think Avengers proved that we can have both. We can have the dark, realistic Nolan films, and then we can also, you know, have a fun, more comic book-esque film. And yeah, the chemistry between the characters is top notch. It's a really great script. This is just it's just a fantastic film, and it definitely deserves a spot. My number 4 pick is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, and you know, if you just watch my intro, you'll know that I definitely love this movie. You know, I didn't discover this movie until quite recently, actually. I think it must have been about a year or two ago. But when I watched it, I just fell in love with it. This really is up there with the best episodes of the animated series. And you got to remember, this was released at a time where this is a film which you really get to know Batman, and you really get a character study of Batman. And this was released around a time, you know, where the movies at the time weren't, you know, the live action movies weren't really dealing with that. They were really more focused on the villains. But this film knows who its protagonist is. It's Batman, and it gives you a really interesting character study of Batman. The way it shows the origin through flashbacks, where you learn that Bruce Wayne did fall in love, but then, you know, then he got his heart broken, and you really care for him. You know, Andrea Beaumont are both really likable characters, so it crushes you that when you learn that they can never really be together. The Phantasm is a great villain. I love the reveal of who it ends up being. It's one of those things where you never know it's that person until you find out it's them, and then when you find out it's them, it's like, how could it be anybody else? The Joker appears in this movie, played by Mark Hamill, and you know, even though he didn't necessarily need to be in the movie, he's a welcome treat. Again, like I said in Return of the Joker, Mark Hamill, because they're not restricted by you know, television, the restrictions of television. Mark Hamill gets to go really crazy and lethal with this Joker. You know, this is the first. I don't think in the animated series they really ever acknowledge, you know, murder and killing. I think they alluded to it a lot of times, but they never really, you know, straight up said it. But in this film, people die. You know, this is a dark film. People die. People get killed, and you know, there's no. You know, they're like, you know, it's still a family film which families can watch, but you know, it certainly pushes itself a lot farther than some of the episodes of the animated series. The animation is beautiful. Shirley Walker's score is epic and awesome and awe-inspiring, and just as good as all the stuff that she wrote for the animated series. I love the voice cast. Like I said, Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy is in. Kevin Conroy plays Batman. He is Batman, in my opinion. Like other actors have come. I do like other actors in the role. You know, Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, etc. But Kevin Conroy will always be my favorite Batman, because he just is Batman. And yeah, he's brilliant in this film. This film was actually released in theaters. It wasn't a direct-to-video film like Return of the Joker was. But because I had literally, literally no advertising, nobody saw it, and if people did see it, and obviously I'm pretty sure they would have responded positively to it. I mean, Roger Ebert reviewed it, and he responded very positively. Um, but I think if more people did see this film, then we could have had more animated superhero films on of DC and Marvel characters on the big screen. Because since Phantasm, we've never had that. No, only in direct-to-video films. We've never had that on the big screen, and that's a real shame because some of these characters like Batman, Superman, they work really well in animation. I mean, just watch the animated series. That's probably the best interpretation of Batman in my opinion, and it's animated. Well, okay, one of the best interpretations of Batman. And it's a real shame that this film didn't make the money that it deserved. But yeah, this is a brilliant film all around. It's dark, it's deep, it tackles some big themes, and you wouldn't. And so did the animated series as a whole, and you wouldn't, that's these days you don't really get that from Saturday morning cartoons. They're fun for kids sort of things, but the animated series could be watched by Batman. The animated series could be watched by kids and adults, and that's something that's always really impressed me by the show. Bruce Timm and his team did a great job. This is a great script. Likeable characters, a Batman that you really care about. This is just a brilliant film, and if you haven't seen it, please check it out because it's really worth your time. My number 3 pick is The Incredibles. And some of you might think this pick is a bit strange, but I absolutely love this movie. It's my favourite Pixar movie, which is quite a feat because Pixar have produced some fantastic films over the years. Toy Story, Monsters Inc., and Up, to name a few. But the fact that this film is my favourite really shows how much how good of a film I think this is. The animation is beautiful. You shouldn't really expect any less from Pixar. I mean, even in their lesser films, the animation still looks great. But aside from some great looking animation, the characters in this are really likable, and they feel like real people, even though they aren't real people. They're animated characters. They feel more real than a lot of characters in live action films. And that's all down by the script. That's all down to the script. It's a great script. It's a deep script for a kids film. It doesn't pander, like a lot of kids films, like I don't know, like the Smurfs films or whatever. They really pander to kids. They treat kids like idiots. But Pixar don't do that. No, they understand that kids are smarter than what we take them for, and even if they don't understand anything, they're going to come back to these films because they're so good. They're going to come back to these films, and then they're going to understand. They're going to more each time, and I think that's the beauty of these Pixar films. The character's really likable. I really like Mr. Incredible because Mr. Incredible isn't a perfect, he's a flawed guy, and that makes him really relatable. The characters deal with some real issues, like Violet. She feels like sort of isolated, that like nobody notices her, and that's a very common thing amongst teenagers, and it's very realistic. Some of the action scenes are fantastic, especially the final one where they fight, the Syndrome's giant robot. There's some great. They do some great demonstrations of the powers, like Frozone played wonderfully by Samuel L. Jackson. His ice powers are used to great effect. It looks fantastic. Syndrome is a great villain. I love Syndrome. I love Syndrome's evil plan. That's quite interesting. I love his evil plan. It's like his plan is once he makes, he's going to somewhat even pretend to be a superhero, and then so he can finally have like the attention that he's always wanted. And then once he's had his time, he'll sell all of his inventions and make everybody superheroes. And then he says, once everyone's super, no one will be. And that is just such a clever plan, in my opinion. Yeah, I always thought that was just such an intrigue, because it's not just your typical I'm going to take over the world, or I'm going to destroy the world, or I'm going to steal loads of money, blah 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 plan. That's a really interesting plan, and I think Syndrome is a very funny villain. He's like a villain that you can be scared of and laugh at the same time. I really like Syndrome. The voice cast are all great. Like I said, Samuel L. Jackson. And my favourite character is Edna Mode, who is really hilarious. One of my favourite animated characters. I think one of the funniest animated characters there is. She was actually voiced by the director, Brad Bird. You wouldn't know. I mean, he must have a really great talent for voice acting. Brad Bird is a great director, by the way. He directed The Iron Giant, this, Mission Impossible 4, and he really deserves more, and Ratatouille as well. He really deserves to, direct some big blockbuster films. Like, I think in the future, they should give him Justice League, or a Star Wars film after J.J. Abrams, or something, because he really deserves to direct a big film. He's a great director. I really like him. Yeah, but overall, I think this is a great animated... No, not just a great animated film, but just a great film overall. Great animation, great script, great characters. It's funny, it's really funny. And great use of the power of each character's powers. A great villain. It's got sort of this like kind of the atmosphere. I really like the atmosphere. It's kind of this like Bond-esque, the setting and the scenery, the mise en scène. It's very Bond-esque. With the rocket which comes out of the volcano on the island and stuff. It's just a very atmospheric film. I really like this film, and I think it's one of Pixar's best. So we're down to the top two, and before I say my number 2 pick, I would like to say that these both top 2 films I like pretty much equally. So I think they're both great films. So yeah, so even though I had to order them because that's the point of the list. This number 2 spot easily could have been number 1, but the other one, my number 1 pick, just missed it by a little bit. But yeah, so without further ado, here's my number 2 pick. My number 2 pick is The Dark Knight, and of course this is going to make this list. This is a very popular superhero film, and for good reason. Heath Ledger, did a fantastic performance, and it's always I miss Heath Ledger so much as so much as an actor, but I'm glad before he passed away, I'm glad he got to show that everyone got to see this role, and you really demonstrated how good of an actor he is, because he was a brilliant actor, one of the best, and he's greatly missed. It's a great shame that he passed away. The Joker he's scary, he's intelligent, he's funny, really creepy. He steals every scene that he's in, and that's quite a feat, considering I think every other actor in this, if the ensemble cast in this is brilliant as well. Like I said in when I was talking about Rises, I think Christian Bale is a great Batman, especially a great Bruce Wayne. Perhaps debatably a better Bruce Wayne than he is Batman. But yeah, I think he's a great Batman. Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman. I think this was the movie where Morgan Freeman really got to shine as well. I really like Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face, and I really like how they characterize Harvey Dent, because they do make Harvey Dent someone who you really like. Like, you like him almost more so than Bruce Wayne. So when, when Rachel does die, spoiler, but you've probably seen this. If you listen to this, you've seen this film. But when Rachel does die, and then when he does become Two-Face, oh, you feel, oh, you just feel so sad because you like this guy so much. And yeah, even though, you could definitely see that he had a dark side, but you never wanted him, like, even for comic book fans who knew it was going to happen, I bet they must have been, it was just so, well, for me personally, it was just so sad when he, when he became Two-Face. It's beautifully directed, action scenes in this are fantastic. Some great cinematography, like I said in Rises, great cinematography. The music is stunning. The Joker theme, the Why So Serious theme. That's great. That's a great theme, and as is the main theme. The burn, 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 burn. I love that. Hans Zimmer is a great great composer, one of the best in film. Yeah, it's fantastic. There's just too many good things to say about this film. You could just spend like your whole life saying how good this film is. Yeah, it's dark. I love it. It's almost like relentlessly dark. But there are some humorous moments. There's some great dialogue in this, especially from the Joker. The interrogation scene is one of the best scenes in the history of cinema, in my opinion. It's like even though physically Batman has the advantage, and he's winning physically. Mentally, the Joker is just screwing with Batman, and the Joker is really a foe worthy of Batman, which is good, because if you're going on for the next film where you got the whole League of Shadows, and then if the Joker was just some crazy guy, then it wouldn't have worked, but it definitely works. And whereas Rises is somewhat is definitely a sequel to Batman Begins, and this is it's a sequel, but it's a standalone sequel to Batman Begins, and it really works as its own film. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Some people say that the Two-Face storyline was somewhat rushed at the end. I don't really think so. I thought it was given a suitable amount of screen time. I think it's because so many things were going on that some people felt like it was they didn't have enough screen time dedicated to it. But I just think I think it works fine. I love Gordon's monologue at the end. I love all of Michael Caine's monologues as Alfred. Chase scenes are great. It's just a fantastic film. I don't even need to tell you why. It's great. Just go watch it right now. So we're at number 1. But before I talk about my number 1 pick, let's go down my list, and I'll remind you of my top 10. So first off, I had an honourable mention to Iron Man. Then at number 10, Superman the movie. Then at number 9, X-Men First Class. At number 8, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. At number 7, X-Men 2. At number 6, The Dark Knight Rises. At number 5, The Avengers. At number 4, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Number 3, The Incredibles. Number 2, The Dark Knight. And my number 1 pick is Batman Begins. Yeah, so as I said previously, a lot of superhero origin films don't really tell a cohesive story. A lot of them will tell the origin in the first 40 minutes, and then for the rest of the film, tell a completely different story, which doesn't align thematically or whatever with the first half. But and some origins don't really even have a story in them at all, like Fantastic Four. There really wasn't a story in that origin, but the whole film dealt with them getting their powers and then them dealing with the powers, and that just ended up being a really boring superhero film. But there is definitely a story in Batman Begins. This film tackles the themes of fear really, really intelligently and really interestingly, and you know, the struggles and, you know, the trials that Bruce Wayne has to go through to become Batman are include some of my favourite scenes in the history of film. Liam Neeson is awesome in this movie as Ra's al Ghul, yet again another sympathetic villain. And you know, the scenes when he's training Batman, if you make yourself more than just a man, you know, that stuff. Ah, yeah, they're so good, so good. I love the flashback. I love the non-linear storytelling in this film. When you know, when Bruce Wayne has to face his fears, and when later Scarecrow comes in the film, and then it really explores the idea of fear. Christian Bale is great in this film. With Rises, I think Bruce Wayne, Batman, is a lot more interesting in Begins and Rises than he is in Dark Knight. Though I still like him there. I'll go through it again. Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is Commissioner Gordon, in my opinion. There have been a lot of other good actors to play Commissioner Gordon, some bad ones as well. But in my opinion, Gary Oldman will always be Gordon, and whoever plays Gordon in the Batman reboot, I don't know. It's going to take me a while to see them as Gordon after Gary Oldman. You know, unless it's Bryan Cranston, of course. Yeah, Gary Oldman is fantastic. I love the League of Shadows. I love, you know, their society. I love how self-righteous they are. How Ra's, you know, how they're like, you know, they're like, Gotham is a disease that needs to be eradicated. And, you know, I love that line where Bruce is like, "Give me, there are innocent people. You're taking away innocent people's lives," or something like that. And then Ra's goes, "Well, only a cynical man would call what these people have lives." And it's like, you're calling him cynical? Yeah, I love the League of Shadows. I love the sort of the pseudo montages. Like, they're not really montages, but you know, when Batman's getting his equipment. This is the film which really, that really made me a Batman fan. It just made me really love the character. Like, beforehand, I was more interested in the villains than the main character himself, but this film really made me like Batman. Now, he's probably my favourite fictional character ever. So, you know, that's gotta mean something. Again, beautifully shot, beautiful cinematography by Wally Pfister. And beautiful music by Hans Zimmer. I love that pairing. Those three together. You know, add those three together, and you've got a quality film. Some great dialogue, some really great memorable dialogue in this. My favourite, I'll mention a few of my favourites. You know, the swear to me scene. I don't kill you, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. A lot of great dialogue in this film, and yeah, it's just, this film is why I love superhero films, because they can have a guy in costume, and they can, you know, they can have fight scenes, and you know, it can be an action film, but then they can also, you know, go a bit, but they can also tell interesting stories. They can you know, they can go deep. They can examine like ideas and themes such as fear in this film. Christopher Nolan proved that, you know, you can tell more in superhero films than just, you know, two guys in costumes punching each other. And you know, people have a lot to thank for Batman Begins as well, for the character of Batman, because gotta remember, the movie before this was Batman and Robin, a movie which a lot of people call the worst superhero film, and you know, I certainly wouldn't disagree with them. So this film, brought Batman back to the spotlight, showed no, Batman isn't a joke, and there's a real story to tell with him, and, I can't thank Christopher Nolan enough for that. But what do you think? What are your top 10 superhero films? Please put them in the comment section below. Do you think I missed some films which deservedly should have made this list? I'd love to hear your opinion. Please comment in the comment section below, and please subscribe if you want to hear more videos from me. And it would be really helpful if you could subscribe. Thank you. This was Isaac's Movie Page, and thank you for listening.
Where were the other drugs going?
I never knew. I don't know. I swear to God.
Swear to me!